Hey y'all, it's Stephen Van Kampen-Lewis, and today, or this evening I should say, I'm in my living room. Actually, the dining room is where I keep my orchid cabinets behind me. And I recently got an order from Diamond Orchids, and for those of you who don't know, Diamond Orchids is in California. It's owned by Peter Lin, and Peter does a lot of really cool stuff with miniatures, miniature Cattleyas, and miniature other things as well. But the things that I'm interested in, of course, are the miniature Cattleyas. And specifically, as you may or may not know, if you've been following my channel for a while, I've been going down the rabbit hole of the Rupiculous Cattleyas or Hoffman Sigellas, because honestly, they fit inside these Ikea cabinets really well. I sort of ignored them for most of my growing career, which is close to 35 years at this point, because they're not fragrant. But I guess I've gotten over that since I went to Brazil in late 2024 and saw a bunch of them growing wild. And so that's sort of expanded my horizon of interest in sort of the smaller Cattleya alliance species and in some of their primary hybrids, and specifically the Hadrolaelias. And the Hadrolaelias used to be Laelias. Now Hadrolaelia is a section, and they're Cattleyas now. And they include things like jongheana, pumila, sincarana, Diana, and alaorii, and a handful of others. Of the ones that I'm interested in are especially sincarana, jongheana, and alaorii. Those three, well, sincarana is smallish plant, but the flowers are about the same size. And the same thing with alaorii. And I'll show you some OrchidRoots sort of screen captures here in a second. But alaorii has got a flower about this big on a plant that's similarly sized. And the cool thing about them is that they're all related, like I said, and they all interbreed freely. And some of them have been used in breeding over the years, especially alaorii. The cool thing about alaorii is that it takes basically the other parent and just shrinks it down to a smaller version of the other parent. So it's really cool. In fact, some years ago, I grew Persevaliana by alaorii, and I don't know if it's named now, but here's a photo of it. And the photo sort of looks like Persevaliana, and that's it. But if you had seen it in real life, you would know that it was a miniaturized version. And Persevaliana is already kind of a small-statured. It's the smallest statured of the unifoliate Cattleyas, but alaorii even made it even smaller. And it's really cool, but that's really not the point of what I want to talk about today. Is, I got this order from Peter Lin, and I don't do unboxing videos because I don't enjoy them. I don't find them interesting, so I don't make them. But I was really blown away by the incredible sort of high quality, not sort of high quality, by the high quality of the plants that he sent. And I figured I would do a video about the Hadrolaelias and my sort of dipping my toes in that group over time, and how I've sort of expanded on that. I've grown alaorii before with some success. And then I've more recently started growing sincarana in this tank here, and I'm experimenting with how to grow under my conditions. So I don't want to report to y'all yet to sort of give you tips and advice on growing sincarana. I've had it for about a year, and I think I could do better. So I'm getting to the bottom of that. But that doesn't mean that I can't buy other ones and sort of move full steam ahead. So I want to show you these ones that I got. And first, I want to show you, I'm going to go to OrchidRoots, show you some video, and show you sort of what the parents of some of these look like, and then the plants themselves. So I got Cattleya jongheana, and as you can see here on the screen, it's a sort of a star-shaped flower with some really distinct keels, as you can see here. And I don't know what it is about the keels, but something about those just draws me in. I don't know if I'm a bee. I was a bee in a past life or what, but these are basically runways for bees, and I just love them. And that's one of the cool things I really like about the Hadrolaelias is their small size, and also they have these massive keels, some of them on the inside of their lip, like jongheana. And so it's a fairly small plant as well. And it grows under similar conditions to Cattleya walkeriana, but cooler. So whereas walkeriana does really well in my hot summers, jongheana is not going to do as well. So I'm going to try it inside and see if I can grow it well in my cabinet. But you know, these are some of what jongheana looks like. And then of course, if we hop over to some of the awards on the AOS, again, you can see, you know, as with most of the Hadrolaelias, they're these small-statured plants with flowers that are basically the same size as the plant. So it's a really cool group, and I really want to grow more of them. And this one is just stunning. I'm going to zoom in on this one. Look at this award photo. You know, that plant is probably maybe, it's less than 10 inches tall, and those flowers are nearly as large, right? But anyway, so this is the alaorii that I got. It is Elena by Danny are the parents, and I don't know either of them. I don't know if it's focusing, but you can see that this is a really nice, robust plant. It's got two growths, new growths growing in either direction, and it's going to get larger. It's going to get taller than this, but not extraordinarily so. And I'm just going to grow this. I'm going to keep it in the same media, in the same pot. I'm not going to repot because I know that this has high quality bark, and there's, you know, plenty of room left in this pot. So I'm going to keep it in here, and I'll show you what it looks like hopefully when it blooms. And I'm just going to treat it the same way I treat other Cattleyas. I'm going to water this. In my cabinet, things dry out pretty quick. I'll probably water 2 to 3 times a week, just like I do with all my other ones. And bright conditions, you know, a week fertilizer at every single watering in pure water. And by a week fertilizer, I say that's about 50 parts per million of nitrogen. And that's according to First Rays, that's about a 1/4 teaspoon of the K-Lite at every single watering. So let's go back to the screen here and look at Cattleya sincerana. So sincerana, you can see, has some similar qualities to jongheana. And some of those qualities include keels in the lip. And I don't know if there's a good photo. I don't know that there is. But actually, this is a photo that, yeah, here we go. This is a photo that Peter Lin actually uploaded to OrchidRoots. And you can see the keels there in the lip, and Peter Lin's name there is next to the photo. And then here's an interesting photo where it's growing rupiculously on rocks in the wild, taken by none other than Cassio Vandenberg, who is a very famous Cattleya taxonomist in Brazil. But actually, if we go back to that photo by Peter, you can see how small that plant is. He's holding, you know, maybe a 3-inch or probably a 3-inch pot, and that's a blooming size plant in his hand there. So if we take alaorii and cross it with jongheana, we get Happy Memory. And Happy Memory is an interesting one because both of these species are very closely related. And, you know, sincerana by jongheana, and you get this absolutely stunning little thing with intense keels and, you know, very similar shape and color to the jongheana, but a little smaller and a little brighter around the fringes of the lip. So I saw these photos and just was absolutely intrigued, blown away, whatever you want to say. And actually, I just noticed that a couple of these photos are from Fred Clark. Fred Clark, of course, is the owner of Sunset Valley Orchids. Peter Lin grows his plants inside the same greenhouses as Fred Clark, and I think he rents a space from Sunset Valley Orchids. So it's interesting that we have Cattleya Happy Memory from Fred Clark here in the same photo, but I got this plant from Peter. Look at the size of these bulbs. Like, this is a monstrous little plant, right? So this is absolutely as big as it'll ever get. This was it came in the mail last week, and this was perfectly wrapped. You know, these 3 buds didn't break. I don't think they're going to abort. They've been coloring up nicely. And so I'm super stoked to see what this looks like. I think you can see that it's starting to walk out of its pot with some of these roots going here. The media, again, the media I know is just fine. It's sort of a little pot within a pot. I don't want to pull it out right now. I don't want to disturb it too much because I want these blooms to happen and open and be really cool, and then I can show y'all what they look like. But this plant has bloomed before. We see an old bloom spike here. This one has not bloomed, and this one is in the process of blooming. So I'm super excited for this. So this is a monstrous plant. This is as big as it'll ever get. You know, vertically, of course, it'll grow horizontally. But you know, looking at those 2 parents that I just showed you, as well as the offspring, at least what is shown on OrchidRoots in those 3 photos, I think this is going to be a really cool one. So again, nothing special about the care for this one. I'm going to water this one at the same time as I do the other ones. Large chunks of bark, bright conditions in my orchid cabinet right next to me over here. So I already talked a little bit about Jongheana. I want to talk about one of the other Hadrolaelias, the smallest one in the group, and that's alaorii. And alaorii, you can see here on the screen, this is just a cute, tiny little precocious thing. You know, it can be a range of colors. It doesn't have a huge range of colors, but you know, that flower there is probably a couple of inches across, maybe 3 inches across. And then the more common color that we see is this orlata form. I think, you know, at least that's the form that I grew some years ago. And you'll see that you can see in the background the flower behind the one that's in the foreground is very cupped. And these flowers are shaped like this. So this is not full, flat, and round, but it's a very cupped flower. And like I said, it takes on the qualities, all the qualities of the other parent in the offspring and the F1 hybrids, and then simply miniaturizes them. And actually you can see that sort of cupped quality here. It's almost tulip-like, but sort of tilted to its side in how cupped it is. And so if you take alaorii and Jongheana, which I talked about earlier, you combine them into Tepals sincoleri. And I'm not sure about how it got this name. I guess Tepal is the last name of someone who registered it in 2019. And so Tepals sincoleri should take the best of both of these Hadrolaelias and miniaturize them. And so you can see how small this plant is here. This is a little teeny tiny thing. And both plants are very small. In fact, we can see a finger there, sort of, or a thumb there as reference, size reference for how small this plant and these flowers will be. So I got this one here, and it's Tepals sincoleri number 5. Go like this. And again, a really nice, healthy plant, big fat bulbs, and it is just cool, just beautiful little thing. I'm not going to repot this one because, again, the media is perfect. It's got, you know, at least 2 more growths in here if it continues in this direction. So there's really no reason to repot it. And it's so small that it doesn't take up much space. I anticipate that it will stay fairly small-statured forever. Finally, the last one that I want to show you is a primary hybrid between 2 Rupiculous Cattleyas, and it's Itambana by Millerai. I'll just show you the plant now. So this is your Rupiculous, a typical Rupiculous one, and I will repot this into my typical clay. Not clay. It's a clay pot, but with sand and peat, about 80% sand and 20% peat. And my my Rupiculous Cattleyas have been growing really, really well in that. So I'm going to do that with this one. I don't think I'm going to wait for a new growth or anything. I'm just going to repot it when I have time in the next couple of days. But I want to show you real quick what the parents look like. Cattleya milleri is probably the most commonly hybridized of the Rupiculous Cattleyas, and they're typically very orange, as you can see here, but I'm going to show you this milleri from Fred Clark. This is sort of fire engine red, and these red ones are definitely the breeding direction. And when you buy them from Francisco Miranda, the milleris from Francisco, he's going to sell you the bright red ones. And then it looks like Fred Clark has these bright red ones. So I suspect that the parent of this one, the Cattleya milleri, for this one is a bright, bright red. And it is used in so much breeding. And if we go to the immediate offspring here in OrchidRoots, you can see that it's got 121 entries. So 121 F1 progeny. So this Cattleya milleri is represented as 50% of the progeny, or one of the full parents in 121 hybrids. And well, honestly, I looked for this hybrid in here, and Itambana by milleri is not listed here. So it's at least 122 hybrids that milleri is the F1 parent of. So I'll repot this and I'll show you the other parent here. And it is Cattleya Itambana. As you can see here, is this very cute little thing, yellow flower with a very short spike. In fact, you can see what the full parent looks like here compared to Brigeri. And Brigeri is pretty small itself, the one on the right, the tall one. But the one on the left, Itambana, is very small. So the milleri is going to have a long spike. So I anticipate the Itambana is going to bring that spike down and then combine with the yellow full sort of shape, sort of very round for a Rupiculous Cattleya, and combine probably to round out some of those segments in the milleri and maybe create something like this. So, you know, this is not an exact match. This is Andean Moon, but it's milleri by Longipes. And these are two star-shaped species, and it looks like a lot of the milleri redness came through. So that would be really cool if that was true for this hybrid, this unnamed hybrid. And then we have Cattleya Seagull from 1980, where they crossed Brigeri with milleri, and the red, or probably back then the orangeness of the milleri combined with the parent, the Brigeri, the yellow and the Brigeri, to create an orange. You know, I suspect that at least in this image here, Brigeri is dominant for shape, and then the milleri is dominant for color. So my guess is that is the breeder's goal, is to create rounder petals and sepals with a nice bright orange flower. And I bet we'll get that on this one. And then, of course, you know, more diamond orchid photos from Peter. You can see how short that spike is. So the other parent contributed to a smaller spike on the milleri, which is sort of the best of both worlds. And that's sort of the goal of most breeders, is to improve on the parents. So anyway, this video is getting a little long in the tooth. I just wanted to show you some cool stuff of where my collection is going, some of the Hadrolaelias, and then a little bit more of the Rupiculous Cattleyas. Hope you're having a great weekend. See ya.